Everybody, welcome back to English 229. This is for our class for Monday, the 18th of October, where we are in the midst of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And as you know, soon we will have our first paper due, and that will be due the 3rd of November, which is a Wednesday, though certainly you can hand in papers early. And my suspicion is that your first paper will either be about Frankenstein, or it will be about Edgar Allan Poe, or it will be about Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the three major texts that we've discussed thus far. Though certainly Dracula, which is our next text, is an option, but we will not have finished discussing Dracula by the time the paper is due. So you might want to wait for the second paper to address something like Dracula or any of the other texts that follow. So what I wanted to do in terms of Jekyll and Hyde, since I had mentioned last class about how oftentimes Hollywood performances tend to provide a heterosexual love interest, was show you the probably definitive version of Jekyll and Hyde. We don't necessarily have a definitive version in the way that we do with something like Frankenstein and the 1930s version. However, in 1931, and notice how important the 1930s were in terms of horror film, Fredric March starred in a version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's an hour and 20 minutes. It was the first horror film, actually, to win an Academy Award. Fredric March actually was nominated for Best Actor. And I thought what we could do was divide this up into two classes. The first class being approximately up until minute 38 and 9 seconds, which would put us at a natural break in the film. And you can see below that I've indicated that in our class notes. And then we could pick up from there and then finish up the following class. And then finally, we could talk about Jekyll and Hyde the following week. So that gives you time to catch up with Jekyll and Hyde if you haven't already finished the reading, though I'm hopeful that you have and that you are actually addressing the next reading, which happens to be Dracula. And that's the longest text, so you should know that that probably is going to be what will be the most challenging, at least in terms of time, with the text that we're reading this semester. And I'm also hopeful that you are in the midst of thinking about paper number 1, if not actually in the midst of drafting paper number 1, which is what today's attendance question will be about, to encourage you to think about paper number 1 if you haven't already done so. What do you think you will write paper number 1 about and why? What do you think you will write paper number 1 about and why? And that would be on our class discussion forum. That would be due Tuesday, the 19th at 8 a.m. Of course, ask me for an extension and I'll be happy to grant you one. And you aren't necessarily obligated to write on whatever you discuss in the discussion forum. I just wanted you to begin thinking about possibilities because we are getting to that point in the semester. So basically, I'm going to leave you to watch the first half of the Fredric March version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You can see the video link below, and we will continue on next class. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing well, and enjoy Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This is the time to take out some popcorn. Bye-bye.